Reading with your kids.
Hey, so great to see you. Come on in. Hi, my name is Jed Lee, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast, coming to you from the beautiful subterranean Reading with Your Kids studios in the lovely neighborhood of Reeville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. My back is being covered by Augie the Wonder Dog, keeping me safe and secure. And if you want to be secure and knowing that you won't miss an episode of the show, please be sure to subscribe on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you find your podcast. Our guest today is Cat Blount, author of The Determiners. Hey, we also want to let you know that we have a very special announcement coming up right after our interview with Kat. Now, before we invite Kat in to help us determine just who the Determiners are, we have to let you know that this episode of the podcast is brought to you by the Storied app. Do you want to be a storytelling superhero? You know, be the parent or the caregiver who always is ready to tell the perfect story at any time? Well, if you answered yes, and why wouldn't you answer yes? We have got the app for you. It's the Storied app. That's right, the Storied app. This is a fantastic tool that will give you instant access to loads and loads of original stories created by top children's storytellers from all around the globe. Looking to help your child become more mindful? We have lots of mindful stories for you. Maybe you want to inspire your child to be kinder? We have a great story about that too. The Storied app features content from all over the world that helps kids develop a respect for other cultures and perspectives. And the stories have all been developed with the input of top children's developmental experts. And there's new content being added all the time. All of the Storied app stories were created to be read in about 5 minutes. The app is so easy to navigate, and I really love the Storied app's special bookshelf feature that allows you to save your child's favorite stories. This is a super resource for every family. Check it out today. For more information, please go to trystoried.com. This episode of the podcast is also brought to you by Megan Meehan's 8-week online children's book writing class. This is a super opportunity. If you've ever thought of writing a children's book and you've been a little bit nervous, you didn't know how to start, well, the place to start is right here with Megan's 8-week online children's book writing class. You've heard Megan on the show. She's recently on the show telling us about her new children's book, Abila's Adventure, a delightful tale of a Brazilian parrot who travels to New York City. Now, here's why you want to be a part of this class. Everything happens online. You learn at your own pace and at your own schedule. Each student can expect to complete a short story in the Kidlit genre. And you gotta love this. All stories will be professionally illustrated and published on Smart Kids Club. For more information, please email Megan directly at meehanms@aol.com. That's Meehan, MEEHANMS @AOL.com. Or you can also call or text her 845-538-0516. And we also want to let you know that this episode of the podcast is also sponsored by The Crabapple Tree by Tom O'Toole. Tom O'Toole wrote The Crabapple Tree to teach kids how to accept and love the differences in all of us, even if we feel that we're different. The Crabapple Tree is about bravery, courage, and standing up for yourself. It's about crushed hopes that are restored. It's about the athletic girl who is told, you're not pretty enough. Or the sensitive boy who is told, dude, real men don't cry. And it's about the author, a gay boy who grew up convinced that something was terribly wrong with him. It's a story of hope deferred and a renewed belief in the fulfillment of longing. It is a story that elevates the marginalized and calls forth the ostracized. It is a story about the greatest voice speaking into the hopeless heart, saying, I see you. I made you. I love you. The Crabapple Tree by Tom O'Toole is now available on Amazon. Joining us on the line right now, one of the friends of the show. She is back on to tell us about her brand new book, The Determiners, The Other Adjectives. Please welcome back to the show, Cat Blount. Cat, how are you?
Hi, Jed. Thanks for having me back.
I'm really excited to have you back. Before we begin, I need to acknowledge Kat and I have stayed in touch through social media and things like that. And she reached out to me not too long ago, a gym here in the Boston area, right outside of Boston, a little town called named Dedham. One of the gyms there, Crack CrossFit, met Kat. And the folks there were so excited about her books, especially her anti-bullying books. They raised a significant amount of money to purchase a number of her books to give to donate to a school, and also they raised enough money for the school to host an anti-bullying assembly. And so when they were looking for a school and a program to present, Kat thought of my program, and so I just returned from presenting the books and the show to the wonderful kids at St. Mary the Hills School in Milton, Massachusetts. The kids loved they loved the show, but they also loved the books, and the teachers loved the books, and the teachers are excited that there were enough books to have so that every classroom could receive a book, and then a number of students won some of your books and brought them home, and everybody's so very excited. So I just need to say thank you to the folks who raised that money, and also thank you to you, Kat.
Thank you very much. Yeah. You're welcome.
I'm excited, too, because I think we're going to learn something new here in the show, the Determiners. We're going to learn what the Determiners are, and we're going to answer the question, are they the other adjectives?
I'm so excited about this book. It's my first educational book, and it's about a term that I haven't found anyone who, when I say, what's a determiner, regardless if it's a teacher or a mom, a parent, a teenager, I'm not sure where they are. So I am excited, and we use these words all of the time. We just don't know that they're called determiners. So I'm excited because I was able to put it into a fun story, and you don't even know that you're learning. You'll learn, your kids will learn. It's just a cute little tale.
Great. So, if you'd have asked me what a determiner is, I would have said like the president, because I think one of the presidents just called himself the determiner or the decider or something like that. But why don't you tell us what some of these determiners are?
Sure. You'll be like, oh my gosh, I know. Oh, okay. So we have that, this, those, these. Sound familiar?
Yeah, I do use those all the time.
A and the. They're also categorized as articles, of course, but they are determiners.
All right.
Yeah. You have few, several, numbers 1, 2, 3, all the way, infinity.
Wow. Now, what does the term determiner mean? Is there a definition of that?
Well, it's basically words that they come before a noun and they introduce nouns.
Okay.
And it also, there are different categories that they fit in, more than 6 categories. So some of them show how many, how much, and then some of them show which one. It depends on which category they fall into, but they're very important. And if you have a determiner in a sentence, you can't take it out. The sentence won't make sense. But if you have an adjective in a sentence, you can take an adjective out. So they're in front of the king of nouns, and they're trying to say, we would like to hold a special place here in your halls alongside adjectives. And the adjectives are loved and adored by the people in the kingdom of nouns. So they're like, who are these people? Are you mad? You want to be as important as adjectives? So they have a spokesperson, which is that. He goes on to explain that we're needed, they're not, and it's just a very interesting tale.
Where did this? I'm always interested to find out what inspired certain stories in books, and I'm really curious as to find out what in the world inspired you to come up with this tale, but also just to kind of come up and write a story about this subject.
Okay, now that's a very interesting question because I'm known as the organic author. Mm-hmm. I write from within. I don't write to a market. I don't write saying, oh, okay, let's do my research on this. And I don't write like that. My stories come to me in my head. And it wasn't always like that. I went through so many crumpled pieces of paper because I could not finish a story. I couldn't even get to the middle of a story. And then one day when my oldest was like maybe 3 or 4, the story popped in my head, the beginning of the story, the middle of the story, the ending of the story. And I was able to just write it down in like less than 18 minutes. And since then, that's how I write all of my stories. They literally, I know it's God because it was my prayer to always be a children's book author. And I literally can't do this on my own. I know it's him sticking these stories in my head because where are they coming from? So with this particular story, I was helping my youngest in class. My kids are schooled at home. And we were working on, we were in, English class, and the course was the other adjectives, the lesson for the day, the other adjectives. And boom, the story came to my head. I mean, it gives me chills to this day. This is my 22nd published books. Wow. And I still get that like, oh my gosh, how these stories just come to my mind like that, start, middle, and finish. And I always think, oh, these are going to be short little stories. But when I sit down and write, they just keep going and going and going and going. So
that's really, really fascinating. And it is kind of miraculous sometimes how inspiration comes to us. Yeah. Tell me, what's it like being the author of so many published books? Gosh,
it's beautiful. Like I said, I always wanted to be an author, and I have so many of them, and I'm like, and I love them all. And every time I write a new one, I'm like, this is great. As if it's just the first title that I'm writing. And, it's just a great feeling. I love it. And I'm so glad that I'm with this platform now that I can run workshops and utilize my books that way as well.
Ooh, tell us about these workshops.
It's a, platform called OutSchool. And, parents go on there, and we have so many classes on there. And they teach so many different things. People can be so creative as to what they teach. So I said, hey, I have all of these books. And it so happens that they all have lessons. So a couple of them, they're just funny books, but they all mostly have lessons to be learned. I said, wow, I can get some great classes out of these. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm building my library of workshops for, kids to take. It's for homeschool kids and kids in regular school.
Fascinating. That's really, really, really wonderful that you're taking your talent and your inspiration and sharing them with others.
Yes, you could go on there too. You are so talented. You could totally go on there, and you can either do, oh my gosh, you would be awesome on there.
Well, tell us a little bit about the reaction that people share with you after they have experienced the Determiners.
No one has this. I just published this book the other day.
That's how on top of things we are here at the Reading with Your Kids podcast.
So I just published it, and you know what's funny? I usually read my books to my family. Mm-hmm. I have not read this entire book to my family yet. That's how fast paced this is going, because we moved recently, and so I had to write the book, move, go back to writing the book, illustrate the book, and format it for ebook and paperback, and get it ready in time enough for this workshop. I haven't even had time to read it to my family. They've only been getting bits and snippets here and there.
Well, I'm sure they're excited to sit down with the finished product and see what you've come up with. Yes, they are. Yeah. I have to ask, with someone with so many books, do you, and I'm sorry if this sounds obnoxious, but are you working on a new project right now? Yeah. They just keep coming, let me tell you. The Adventures of Joe Bully No More and Tears Away Lola, The Party. That's what I'm working on now. Wow. The subject of bullying is something that's obviously important to you.
Oh,
So
gosh.
where does that come from?
I can't bear to see a child hurt. Okay? We all have our thing. That's my thing. And it's been my thing before I even had children myself. I just cannot bear it. And that's something that's happening that it just doesn't get the coverage that other hurtful things against children get, because they're figuring, well, it's a child against a child, no big deal. Oh, they are so wrong. It is a big deal. And these children are being tormented because there's no, if I could think of a worse word than torment, I would, because it's a horrible experience to be battered like that. Mm-hmm. Most of the time, daily, all of the time, and no one's helping. You feel lonely, you feel just awful, and then you start to believe what they're saying. You start to think you're not worth it. And I can't bear it, and I hate it. Mm-hmm. And in fact, one of the books that I gave to you, Tiny Timothy, the boy who hates, mm-hmm. Other schools didn't like it because it had the word hate in it. But there is no other feeling towards that for me. Mm-hmm. I hate it. I hate it.
Now, did this passion spring from a personal experience? Were you the target as you were growing up?
I was, it's funny. I was not a target in school at all. No, I was not. I was not bullied in school. I've had experiences where people weren't nice to me, mm-hmm. but I was never bullied. And I teach my kids, hey, listen, who loves you most? God, me, your dad. You're going to listen to that person who doesn't, what do they do? Nothing for you. And you're going to believe them? Oh, no. So my kids are well equipped to handle that, but it's hard. It's funny because my daughter the other day had to, she's a techie kind of gamer. She's a gamer. Kids online are not being are not being as nice as they should. And she had to let go of some of those friends because she's like, hey, they're not who I want to hang out with. She wasn't bummed out about it at all. And they've been friends for like a year. And she was just able to walk away from that when she saw that they weren't being nice to her. She was like, oh, bye. I loved it.
Yeah. Well, that's really, and that's something, it takes a special kid. I remember very clearly when my daughter was in third grade coming home one day and she was really frustrated because she had these two. Now I'm just making up names. So if I'm using one of her friends' names, I'm not talking about you. I'm just,
yes,
she came home and she said, she was upset, and I said, why are you upset? And she said, well, Samantha told me that she'll be my best friend, but I can't talk to Bridget anymore. And then Bridget came up to me and said, she'll be my best friend, but I can't talk to Samantha. And I said, well, what did you do? And she said, I told them both I didn't need to have a best friend. I wanted to be friends with everyone. And I was really proud of her because she just kind of put her foot down and said, no, I'm not playing this game. But it takes, not every kid can do that. And
nope.
I don't know if it's a natural thing, if it's something kids are born with, or at some point we as parents or someone in their lives said a magic word that just planted a seed of strength and determination in there. It still hurt her, it was still very upsetting for her. Yes. But she was able to kind of, just go, look, this is who I am. These are my standards. And if you can't fit into them, then we need to call it quits.
Yes.
Yeah. And so that's, if there's one thing as a parent, if you can figure out a way to do that with your kids, and I think it starts with what you were saying, the message that you give to your kids. It doesn't matter what happens if you win this game or lose this game. It doesn't matter, what this person or that person thinks about you.
Yes.
We love you. You need to understand that your place here in our hearts is secure. Nothing can change it. We're always going to love you.
Yes. And it starts early. Start as early as you can start. Yeah. It's hard to, it starts early. Mm-hmm. The kids start grasping, absorbing very young.
Very, very young. Well, we want to make sure that everybody can grasp and absorb all of the wonderful books that you've published over the years. So tell us where folks can go online to find out about your organic stories.
Okay, they can go to Cat, C-A-T, Blount, B as in boy, L as in Larry, O-U-N as in Nancy, T as in Tom, stories.com.
Excellent, excellent. And you go there, and there are links to all the books and descriptions of all the books, and it really is. It's a great website. There's a lot going on there, so make sure when you visit, make sure you give yourself a little bit of time to stroll around the neighborhood.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jed.
We've been talking to the author of the brand new book, The Determiners, The Other Adjectives. Her name is Cat Blount. Cat, thanks so much for being with us.
You're welcome. Thank you again for having me. Thank you. You're doing great. I'm so happy for you with this podcast. It's doing amazing. It's just great. And what you do for the schools, Jed, I had my mom listen to your presentation. I mean, it's just awesome.
Please be sure to join us for the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be Tom O'Toole. You've heard us talk about Tom O'Toole's book, The Crabapple Tree. He'll be on the show to tell us about this really, really powerful book. You don't want to miss this episode. The next episode, Tom O'Toole, author of The Crabapple Tree. I told you at the beginning of the podcast, but we have a special announcement, and we absolutely do. We have a brand new Reading with Your Kids certified great read. It is Flabby Abby Beach Ball, a story about being yourself by our friend George Neeb. There is so much we love about this book. Flabby Abby addresses a serious topic of bullying through a powerful story that teaches kids to stand up to bullies and to love themselves for who they are. It guides children to help find the right way to shut bullies down and believe in themselves. It's a really fun and lighthearted book, but it's a great, great book and a great resource to start talking to our kids about standing up for each other and to saying somebody if they see someone using mean words or picking on others. It features a really strong girl who faces bullying with confidence and feels strong enough to do what is right. We just love Flabby Abby Beach Ball, a story about being yourself by our friend George Neeb. It is our latest Reading with Your Kids certified great read. Before we go, we want to thank the folks who made this show possible. Of course, we want to thank our guest, Cat Blount. Cat Blount. Be sure to check out her great new book, The Determiners. We also want to thank our sponsors, Tom O'Toole. He is the author of The Crabapple Tree. This would be a good time to check out The Crabapple Tree and be ready for his appearance on the next episode of the show. We also want to thank the folks at the Storied app. You may remember that Jay Huffman was on the show talking about this great app not too long ago. You can check it out at trystoried.com. And, of course, we also want to thank our friend Megan Meehan. Be sure to check out her 8-week online children's book writing class. You can become a published book author in just 8 weeks. I also want to thank my amazing producer, Fatima Khan. She does so much for the show. Make sure you check out her blogs at readingwithyourkids.com. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all of the support that she gives me. I want to thank Augie the Wonder Dog for keeping my back safe and secure during this recording. And I want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And as always, thank you so much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.